The year is 1940, and the world is burning in the chaos of war, with nations fighting desperately for survival. But Germany comes up with a plan that no one could have imagined. A plan that doesn't involve guns or soldiers, but something far more dangerous. Instead of weapons, they decide to attack using paper money, forcing camp prisoners to create fake British pound notes so perfect that no one could tell the difference, planning to flood Britain with it and completely destroy its economy from within. However, this plan is far more complicated than it sounds, and Beckett is put in charge to make sure everything goes smoothly, as the story suddenly shifts to a weapons factory where something unexpected is about to happen. It's a little girl's birthday, and for a brief moment, there's joy and celebration in the middle of all the chaos. But that happiness is shattered instantly when a German bomb drops without warning, destroying everything in seconds. From there, we are introduced to Tommy, a man whose name once struck fear into people, but now he lives alone, far away from the world, as if he's trying to escape his past completely. One of his friends informs him that the city was attacked last night, and the survivors are now hiding nearby. But the real problem isn't just the attack. It's that one of the women recognized Tommy and started asking questions about him. Johnny quickly covers it up, saying Tommy is just a man hiding away, writing a book, but Tommy clearly doesn't want any connection to the outside world and sends Johnny away without hesitation. Not long after, Tommy notices a little girl outside his window, and when he steps out, he finds a red scarf lying there, a scarf he instantly recognizes as his daughter's. In the distance, he sees what looks like her spirit, happily playing, and for a brief moment, a rare smile appears on his face, as if he's finally feeling peace again. But that moment fades quickly as he places the scarf on his brother's grave, his eyes filled with deep sadness, showing that the pain he carries hasn't gone anywhere. As he stands there, Johnny returns and tells him that his sister has come to visit. But even then, Tommy refuses to welcome her inside, choosing instead to sit in her car and talk from a distance. Ada, now a member of parliament, is living a completely different life, working for the good of people, while Tommy remains stuck in his dark past, and she wastes no time confronting him. She tells him that his son is now running the Peaky Blinders in Birmingham, the very gang Tommy created, but he's doing it recklessly, making dangerous decisions that could get him killed. She warns Tommy that if he doesn't step in, his son will either be executed or destroyed by his enemies, and the only way to save him is to come back and face everything he left behind. But Tommy, completely broken inside, refuses, saying he has nothing left to fight for, making it clear that he has given up on life itself. Meanwhile, the story shifts back to a factory, where things take a violent turn as a Peaky Blinders van arrives, and out steps Duke, Tommy's son, now leading the gang. The moment he enters, the workers stop, sensing trouble, as Duke's men begin loading government supplies into their vehicles without permission. One brave man tries to stop them, reminding Duke that those supplies are meant for the war, but instead of backing down, Duke's ally threatens everyone, warning them that even their families won't be safe. Even then, when the man refuses to step aside, Duke shoots him without hesitation, proving just how far he's gone, as they continue the robbery like nothing happened. By the time Ada arrives, everything is already over, and the workers, filled with anger, blame her for everything, accusing her of being responsible because of her connection to the gang. She tries to explain that she never supported them, but no one is willing to listen, as her words fall on deaf ears. Soon after, we see Duke meeting John at the Peaky Blinders hideout, where John places a fake note on the table and reveals a massive deal involving £350 million. He offers Duke a chance to spread this fake money across Britain using criminal networks, promising him a 20% cut, which amounts to £70 million. John admits that he originally came to make this deal with Tommy, but now Duke is the one in charge, and hearing this, Duke's ego takes over instantly. He points a gun at John, declaring himself the boss, and without thinking about the consequences, he accepts the deal, stepping deeper into danger. Back at Tommy's house, something strange begins to happen, as doors and windows he always kept closed are suddenly open, creating an eerie atmosphere. Inside, he finds a mysterious woman calmly reading his books, and the moment he sees her, he is shocked, because she reminds him of someone he lost. The woman reveals a shocking truth, telling Tommy that she is the twin sister of his late wife and that she can communicate with her spirit. She claims that his wife's spirit sent her to him, and to prove it, she reveals personal memories that only Tommy and his wife could have known, leaving him stunned. We are then taken back to 1914, to the moment they first met in a refugee camp, showing how their relationship began and how they eventually had their son, Duke. Returning to the present, the woman warns Tommy that his son is in serious danger and has fallen in with the wrong people, begging him to step in and save him. But Tommy, still lost in his grief, refuses again, saying his fighting days are over, as if he's completely done with everything. That's when the woman tells him something that changes everything. That if he saves his son, he will finally find the peace he has been searching for all this time. Then, speaking as his wife, she reveals a haunting truth, saying that Arthur was not alone on the night he died, hinting that there is still more to uncover. Tommy takes a deep breath, his voice trembling slightly as he finally admits the truth, saying that he was there that night, and that Arthur wasn't in his right mind, drunk and desperate, holding a gun and asking for money. Arthur had come to take his car, but in his state, he believed Tommy was the devil himself, and what followed wasn't planned. It was chaos, a tragic accident that changed everything. Meanwhile, the story shifts to Duke and Ada as she confronts him, trying to stop him before he destroys everything, warning him that robbing government supplies and exploiting the poor will weaken the country in the middle of war. She threatens to have him arrested if he doesn't stop, but Duke simply laughs, brushing off her warning like it means nothing. With arrogance, he tells her that no one can stop him, not the government, not the police, because they all answer to him now, and the only man who ever could have stopped him was his father. But in his eyes, Tommy is gone, broken, and no longer cares, and with that belief, Duke proudly declares that what he's about to do will be bigger than anything Tommy or his uncle ever achieved. Refusing to give up, Ada turns to Charlie, hoping to build a legal case against her own nephew, asking for witnesses who can testify about the stolen weapons. But Charlie dismisses her efforts immediately, telling her that courts and laws won't stop Duke. Only his father can. Still determined, Ada goes to the refugees, the very people who suffered from the bombings, asking them to stand up and testify, but fear keeps them silent, and no one steps forward to help her. The next morning, Tommy wakes up to find the mysterious woman gone, but her words linger in his mind, pushing him to finally act. He picks up his daughter's red scarf from his room, realizing she must have brought it there, and without hesitation, he decides to return and stop his son. As he prepares to leave, Johnny warns him about the danger waiting in the city, but Tommy doesn't care anymore, because this is something he has to face. At the same time, Duke meets John again, who reminds him that Ada is trying to send him to prison, and if that happens, the entire plan will collapse. John pressures him, asking how he plans to deal with her, making it clear that failure will cost him everything, including the promised fortune. Hearing this, Duke makes a dark decision. He sets out to kill his own aunt. Ada, unaware of what's coming, is on her way to testify in court, while Duke follows her, hiding and aiming his gun at her from a distance. He pulls the trigger, but misses on purpose, unable to bring himself to kill her. But before he can react, another gunshot echoes, and Ada collapses to the ground, the fatal shot coming from John, who had been watching all along. Duke is left frozen in shock, realizing too late what has just happened. Meanwhile, Tommy is driving into the city when he suddenly sees Ada standing in the middle of the road, but he knows instantly that it's not real. It's her spirit. That's how he understands she's gone, and the weight of it crushes him, filling him with grief and rage at the same time. Fueled by anger, Tommy heads straight to the place where his son's gang operates, storming into a crowded pub filled with noise and chaos. When no one answers him, he shuts off the music himself and demands to know where Duke is, his voice carrying a deadly calm. People begin to panic, recognizing who he is, but one foolish young man steps forward, trying to act tough, telling Tommy to turn the music back on and even mocking him. Without reacting emotionally, Tommy calmly takes out a grenade, pulls the pin, and slips it into the man's pocket. The man panics and runs outside, desperately trying to get it out, but it's too late. The explosion kills him instantly, leaving everyone in stunned silence. After that, Tommy finally finds Duke, and the moment he sees him, he unleashes all his anger, beating him mercilessly, believing he killed Ada. Duke, terrified and broken, cries out that he didn't do it, that he couldn't shoot her, and that someone else was responsible. But Tommy continues, furious at the path Duke has taken, shouting that he should have never been involved with such dangerous people. Duke fights back with his words, blaming Tommy himself, saying this life was passed down to him, that this is the legacy he inherited. Grabbing him, Tommy demands the truth, and finally, Duke confesses that it was John, the man behind the fake money, who killed Ada. He reveals the entire plan to destroy the country, making Tommy realize just how deep this situation goes. Without wasting time, Tommy heads to the hospital, knowing Ada's body has been taken there, wanting to see her one last time. Johnny follows him, but Tommy takes his gun back, knowing Johnny might act out of emotion and try to kill Duke in revenge. When Johnny questions why he needs a gun inside a hospital, Tommy calmly explains that the man who killed Ada will be waiting there for him, expecting him to show up. And when that moment comes, Tommy promises that he will kill him. Inside, as Tommy stands before Ada's body, he struggles to hold back his tears, his emotions breaking through as he looks at his sister one final time. In that moment of grief, he finally reveals the darkest secret he has carried all this time, the truth about Arthur. He remembers that night clearly, how Arthur had come to him drunk and out of control, and how everything that followed spiraled into something he could never take back. Arthur had been aggressive that night, completely out of control, and the two brothers ended up fighting over power, over who was truly in charge. In the middle of that struggle, Tommy was forced into a choice he could never undo, and to protect himself, he killed his own brother. The weight of that sin crushes him in the present, filling him with unbearable guilt as memories of that night refuse to leave his mind. But before he can even process it, he suddenly hears footsteps in the hallway and realizes that John has come to finish him. Tommy steps out with his gun, and within seconds, a brutal shootout erupts inside the hospital corridors, bullets tearing through the silence as both men take cover and fire back. Amid the chaos, John shouts, trying to bargain, offering Tommy wealth beyond imagination if he's willing to walk away. But Tommy doesn't care about money anymore, because all he sees is the man who killed his sister standing in front of him. When Tommy steps out to fire again, John realizes he's outmatched and makes a desperate escape through the horse stables. This only fuels Tommy's rage, and without hesitation, he mounts a horse and rides through the streets, a sight that leaves people stunned, as if the old king has returned. It's been years since anyone has seen Tommy move through the city with this kind of presence. He finally reaches Duke's hideout, and we are briefly taken back to a moment before Ada's death, where she had spoken to Duke, urging him to work with his father. She had given him a special bullet, telling him that when the time comes, he should give Tommy the peace he deserves. Back in the present, Tommy stands before his son, and Duke agrees to help him take down John, but only if things are done his way. Soon after, the two of them are seen sitting together, sharing a quiet drink, a rare moment of calm before everything explodes again. Tommy later attends Ada's funeral, carrying the weight of loss once more, while at the same time, Duke secretly makes his move. He calls John and lies to him, saying Tommy's men are coming to kill him, offering protection in exchange for the promised £70 million. Desperate and cornered, John agrees, unaware that he's walking straight into a trap. Meanwhile, Tommy and his old allies prepare for the final attack, carefully planning every move. Instead of a direct assault, they decide on a smarter strategy, sending boats as a distraction while Tommy and Johnny sneak in through underground tunnels. The plan is set, and everything begins to unfold. Duke meets John and feeds him false information, telling him to prepare his men at the docks for an attack from the river. As expected, 3 boats emerge through the fog, and John's men get ready to open fire. But what they don't know is that Tommy isn't on those boats, as he and his team silently break through an underground entrance and infiltrate the warehouse. At the same time, the men on the boats slip into the water, leaving behind a deadly surprise. One loyal man stays behind just long enough to steer the lead boat forward, lighting the fuse of a massive bomb before jumping into the water at the last second. Moments later, the boat crashes into the docks and explodes, wiping out John's guards instantly. Realizing he's been betrayed, John turns his gun on Duke in pure rage. But before he can fire, another explosion blasts open the warehouse doors. Through the smoke, Tommy walks in with his crew, having successfully executed the plan. A violent shootout erupts, and with the element of surprise on their side, Tommy's men quickly overpower John's remaining forces. But in the chaos, Tommy is badly injured, pushing his body to its limits. Duke rushes to him, but instead of stopping, he takes the explosives and sets fire to the stacks of counterfeit money, destroying the plan completely. The flames rise as millions burn, and in that moment, John realizes he has lost everything. Panicking, John tries to escape in his car, but as he drives forward, he sees Tommy standing in his path, waiting for him like death itself. Tommy doesn't shoot immediately, almost as if he wants it to end, as if he's ready to die. John fires first, hitting Tommy, but even in that condition, Tommy raises his gun and delivers a final, deadly shot straight to John's heart. John dies instantly, and with him, the entire plan collapses. Bleeding heavily, Tommy stands in front of the moving car, ready to let it crush him, as if he no longer wants to survive. But at the last second, Duke pulls him away, refusing to let him die like that. Still, Tommy knows his time is over, and he asks Duke to use the special bullet Ada had given him, so he can finally find peace. Duke breaks down, unable to accept it, but he knows this is what his father truly wants. With tears in his eyes, he loads the bullet and fulfills Tommy's final wish, ending his life in the only way Tommy could accept. As Tommy takes his last breath, a faint smile appears on his face, as memories of his wife, his daughter, and his sister fill his mind. In death, he finally finds peace, reunited with the ones he loved. Afterward, Duke makes sure that every piece of counterfeit money is destroyed, ending the threat once and for all. Finally, he lights his father's funeral pyre, watching as the legacy of Tommy Shelby comes to an end, bringing the story to a powerful close.